Hi everyone, and welcome to this video where I'm going to share my top 30 favourite Derwent drawing pencils from their new range of 72 colours. I don't know how I managed to narrow it down to 30, but somehow I did. And I don't only like these as individual colours, but I also feel like the 30 I've chosen work really well together as a complete palette in their own right. So if you're looking to get some of these pencils and you don't want to invest in the entire set of 72, this might be the video for you. So I'm going to be talking to you throughout this video about why I chose the colours I chose, and I will also swatch them on white paper and toned paper so you can see how they look on both. So the first colour I chose for my collection of 30 was Champagne. Now this is one of their new colours and it reminds me very much of Wheat, which was in the initial range of 24. I always loved that colour, but Champagne is just like a lighter, slightly more yellowish version of Wheat. So the second colour is Light Ochre. Now this one is one of the new colours as well, and it's obviously a lighter version of Yellow Ochre. I always love yellow ochres because I like my yellows to be a bit more earthy and a little bit more dirty. I'm not really into bright yellows, so Light Ochre seemed like the perfect one to choose for the lighter of my yellows, because I chose another one that was a little bit darker, and this one is gold. So this is another new colour and it's kind of like a yellow ochre but just a little bit different. So I didn't think that I would go with my usual yellow ochre. I thought I'd try to choose things that were kind of similar but were a little bit different. Does that make sense? This is the most random voiceover because I'm actually recording this in a car, so you'll hear probably all sorts of background noises. And if you want to find out why I'm recording this in a car, then I will leave a little explanation in the description beneath this video. So head down there if you want to find out the backstory. Okay, so the fourth colour, let's get back onto the colours. The fourth colour was Brown Ochre. Now this was one of the original colours that they had in this range, so I have always loved this colour. I feel like it's a really useful neutral brown. It's not too dark, not too light, lovely warm colour. Oh, by the way, at this point I decided I was going to re-swatch the colours that I was swatching on the grey toned paper. I don't know why I decided I didn't like how they looked, but I didn't, and so I just redid them. Okay, normal service has resumed. Right, the fifth colour is Light Sienna. Now this was one from the original set of 24 as well. And this lovely soft rusty peachy pink colour has always been one of my favourites. I feel like again it's a really lovely useful colour. I kind of feel like with soft colours they're kind of easy to use. I feel like they are anyway. They're really good background colours to sometimes work on top of. So I really wanted to include it in this collection again. And to accompany it, we have Light Rust, which is one of their newer colours. And I just feel like this is just soft and lovely. It's a rusty colour, but it isn't really bold. Because in their first set, they had a lot of rusts and oranges. And I love those types of colours. But I kind of wanted to feel like I had a real range in this collection of 30. So we kind of go from the lighter through to the darker ones. This one, by the way, is Apricot, and this is another new colour, and this is a really dirty orange. Do you get the impression that I love dirty colours? Again, it's a great autumnal colour and perfect to use at this time of the year. But I love painting or drawing autumn all year round, so I always love autumnal colours. Okay, this one is Autumn Leaf. So we've gone a little bit bolder and a little bit brighter in our range of rusts. I really like the selection I have here. I feel like all of these colours that I've chosen so far work really well together. It did take a lot of narrowing down because there are so many good oranges and rusts in the Derwent Drawing collection. But yeah, these ones I felt, I don't know, they're just very me. And yeah, Autumn Leaf is another new colour. So this one is Sanguine, and this is actually one of their original colours. It was in the initial set of 24, and it's a lovely brownish rust colour. So you're getting a little bit darker here and a little bit more towards a brown. I love the depth of this colour. All of these colours, by the way, across the range are really consistent in their feel, like when you use them. Because I've used other ranges of coloured pencils and some of the colours are a little bit more gritty or chalky, but in this range all of them are really lovely and creamy. Okay, so this colour is Bista, and this is another lovely neutral. So it's sort of a brownish pink, and it's one of their new colours, and I just felt like it worked really well with these rusts and yellows. So I wanted to include that one in the collection too. And some of these colours won't show up quite as much on the grey toned paper, but they show up pretty well. I think there are a couple of colours that don't quite show up as well as the others, but yeah, they all look pretty good on that toned paper as well, which I was trying to bear in mind because I like working on toned paper as well as white. This colour is called Fossil Grey, and I think I have this pencil in their Light Fast range, so I've always loved this colour. And it's kind of like a softer version of their Mars Violet. It just has more of a greyish tone and yeah, just very nice and soft. So we're going into some really nice browns now. I like to have a good selection of browns in my palettes, and this one is Warm Earth, so this is one of their initial 24 colours, and I think that is just a really useful brown to have. So the next one is a new one called Woodland. I love the name of this one, and it's a darker brown. So we've really expanded the range of browns, or they've really expanded the range of browns in this collection now, which really pleased me. So Woodland is a lovely dark brown, so I had to include that. It's not quite as dark as their chocolate colour, which I'll also include, by the way, that's coming up soon. But before we have chocolate, we have Venetian Red, and this is one that they had in the initial collection too, and I still really love it because it's a lovely rich reddish brown, which I felt would be really useful to have amongst these kind of darker ones and more what I would call neutral browns. So it's really nice to have the rich reddish brown as well. It's funny because I actually chose 20 of their new colours and 10 of their older colours for my collection, and that really wasn't deliberate. I didn't know how many I was going to choose from the newer ones or the older ones, but yeah, we're on to chocolate here, and this has always been a favourite. It's just the most rich, dark chocolate brown. It's very aptly named. It's like dark chocolate. And it can almost read as black sometimes as well. So I feel like this is a really useful one to have. It's also good for outlining and adding details. So yeah, we have a nice range of browns in this collection. So the one I'm swatching here is Forest. So this is another new colour, and this is such a dark green that it almost looks black. So this could be another one that you use as like a black alternative. So something that's reading as black when you look at it, but is a little bit more interesting, has a bit more depth to it. And one thing that was missing in this set of pencils when we only had 24 colours was a range of darker greens. So here we have spruce green. This is another new lovely dark green. This one is kind of bluish, so it's one of the cooler greens, which we actually didn't really have in the set before. Yeah, it's really lovely to be able to have a bit more choice in greens in this collection. So I had to include this one because I felt like this one is just such a nice addition to the greens that will be coming up in a moment that you'll see. Looking at this so far, I think all of these colours just look so beautiful. The one thing that Derwent Drawing does really well is natural, muted kind of colours. So there's nothing really brash or kind of, I don't know, too bright, too acidic or anything like that. They're just really lovely soft colours. So this one is Green Shadow, and this was in the initial set of 24. This has always been, again, one of my favourite colours. It's a real greyish green, and I find it's just so useful. I love using this for trees in conjunction with, well, I used to use a Payne's Grey pencil for the shadows, but they didn't have it in the Derwent Drawing range, so I had to use a luminance pencil. And now we have a darker blue in this set, so I'm excited about that too. The next one is Sage Leaf. Now this must be one of my favourite Derwent Drawing colours ever. This is one of the new ones, one of the new greens, and I've always loved a sage green, and this is just such a beautiful version of it. So it's a slightly greyish green again, I would say, and I just love that it has a softness and a depth to it at the same time. I'm a big fan of a warm olive green, and Olive Earth is just such a gorgeous colour. It was in their initial set of 24, and it's a very dark olive green, really warm toned, has kind of like a hint of brown to it as well. And I always feel like a green like that is so useful to have in your palette. So I knew that I had to include it in this collection too, because it's quite unlike the other greens that I have. And I wanted a wide variety of different greens in my palette of 30 because I love using green, which is funny to say because years ago I didn't, but now I'm obsessed with it. The next green I've included is Green Earth. Now this is one of their new colours, and it's very similar to, I think it's Crag Green from the first set of 24. I just chose this one rather than Crag Green because it was one of the newer ones, and I thought it'd be interesting to choose a good selection of the newer colours as well. But yeah, they're very, very similar. So if you have one, you don't necessarily need to have the other. And if you wanted to include Crag Green instead of this one, you could. So the next green is something a little bit lighter, brighter, maybe a bit warmer. It's a very yellowish green. So yeah, it has that warmth to it rather than the blue undertone. And it's called Moss Green. So it's another one of their new colours. And it's just different to all of the others that I had included so far. I felt like it's a good natural mid-green, a very useful one to have. So I really love how all of these greens look actually. Now I'm looking at this swatch chart, I'm thinking they all look really lovely together because they're all significantly different to each other. But yeah, really nice collection. Okay, the last green that I included was Fresh Green. Now I wasn't sure whether I was going to include this one because it's actually a little bit on the brighter side, but what I love about the Derwent Drawing range is that even though this is one of the brighter colours in inverted commas, it's still got that lovely sort of muted, slightly dirty kind of look that I love. Okay, we're on to the blues now, and this one is one of the new ones. This is called Teal Blue, and it just, I don't know, I just thought it was so pretty. I kind of feel like maybe it's not necessarily the kind of blue that you would associate with me normally, but again, I wanted to include a good range of blues. And I feel like, I don't know, this one, if I use it lightly, it could have that lovely soft blue, kind of not baby blue, but I don't know. I just thought it's pretty. I'm going to include it. So the next one is Solway Blue. This is from their initial collection of 24. And this again has always been one of my favourites. Solway Blue to me is always like a greyish blue. And it sort of reminds me of a colour of paint that I used to love called Misty Blue. So yeah, I needed to include that again. This one is one of their new colours. This is Ash Blue, and it's sort of along the same lines as Smoke Blue, which was in their first set. I chose this one, I think, because it was a little bit more muted than Smoke Blue, and if I recall correctly, slightly paler, but I just really loved the sort of dirtiness of it again. And I feel like it works really well with the other blues that I have there, which I feel are a little bit more cool toned, whereas this one's slightly warmer. The next one is Ink Blue, so we've got something a bit darker this time. And this was one from the first collection as well, so this has long been a favourite of mine. And I just love that it looks like the perfect inky blue. So I'm always a fan of a dark, moody, inky blue. And I just thought this is significantly different to the other blues that I've got in this collection already. We needed a good range. I've tried to do this throughout all of the different colour groups to include like the lighter tones, the mid-tones and the darker tones of each colour. So yeah, we needed some dark blues in here. So talking of dark blues, this one is called Midnight, and it is the most incredibly dark blue you could ever hope to have. If you didn't want to use black, you could definitely use Midnight, and it would read as black, I think. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great, almost like a Payne's Grey substitute. They haven't got anything that's really like a Payne's Grey in this collection, but I think this is probably as close to it as I'm going to get. I could certainly use it in a similar way, and I'm really glad that they've included that in this new set of 72. Okay, so we were at the point where we really needed a grey. And there were quite a few nice greys to choose from, but I decided that for a sort of lighter to mid-tone grey that isn't too cold or particularly warm, I would go with Mist. I think it's a really lovely name as well, and I always think it's useful to have a lovely light grey like this, something that's quite soft. And I think actually we're nearly at the end. I have a feeling that there's only one more colour to go, and it's actually going to be another grey. So see if you can guess before I get there. Can you guess which one it's going to be? It's actually Carbon Grey. I felt like this was a lovely darker grey, and I feel like it's also going to be a really useful colour. So this is another one of their new colours. Actually, I don't know whether I said that Mist was one of their new colours, did I? I don't know. Anyway, both of these greys are in the new range of 72. And so here we have my collection of 30 colours that I feel make a really good, predominantly landscape palette, but of course you could use it for many other things. And I feel like they also work, these colours also work really well on both the white paper and the toned paper. There are a couple of colours there that you can see that don't show up quite as well on the toned paper, but generally speaking, the set as a whole really works on both papers. Okay, well, thank you for watching, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and perhaps hype it as well if you have that option. And please consider subscribing to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to my YouTube subscribers and my Patreon members, especially Carol Rebholes. And I will be back soon with another video. I'll see you then.